right, hey guys, it's Miss Capola here. We are doing lesson 6.9, the quadratic formula. This guy's a pretty huge deal, so mentally prepare yourselves for how much fun we're going to have today. Throughout this video, I am going to be talking pretty fast because this is a lot to fit in 10 minutes. I suggest you take time and pause when I tell you to pause and think about where things are going so that you can process, because we all process at different speeds, all right? So the first task we have here is to continue from lesson 6.8, which was to complete the square here. All right, so let's look at this guy. We've got x squared plus 3x minus 4. Now I'm uncertain if complete the square is the best model for this, but these are the directions, so we got to do it, right? All right, so here I go. X squared plus 3x, and when we complete the square, the x's stay together and the constants go alone on the right-hand side. All right, we have to take, half of that b value. Half of 3, I'm going to write it as literally 3 divided by 2, and then we have to square it. So 3 squared is 3, 2 squared, oopsies, 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4. So I am adding 9/4 to both sides. So 4 plus 9/4. Okay, I'm already feeling uncomfortable. And I think that you can kind of see this little monster down here, meaning this was a monster of a question. What's making this question more challenging is the fact that we've got these fractions added in here for no reason, really. We don't like completing the square with fractions. Well, actually, some people do, but maybe, I don't know how you feel about it. 4 plus 9/4, trust me on this, is 25/4. You can throw that right in on your calculator. And then when I come through and solve this guy using the complete the square method, it's not as bad at the end. The square root of 25/4 is a nice number because the square root of 25 is 5 and the square root of 4 is 2. All right, so we end up with x equals -3/2 plus or minus 5/2. Now, you can type both of these in on your calculator. You'll find out that 1 is going to be an answer, and let's see, -3/2 plus 5/2, or minus 5/2, because I got to do that minus, is -8/2, which is -2. Okay. So those, -4. Oh boy. So those are our two answers there, and that was not fun, in particular because of that fraction, all right? So when complete the square isn't something that we really feel like doing, there's something that exists in the world of algebra that's really important, and it is called the quadratic formula. What's so cool about the quadratic formula is that it'll solve any quadratic equation algebraically. Literally anyone's. The ones that can be factored, the ones that can be used to complete the square. So if you look at this quadratic function, it's written in standard form, and a would just be a number, like so 2x squared plus 6x minus 1. A would be 2, b would be 6 in this case, and our c would be -1. So you can take this quadratic and sub it into this quadratic formula. Notice how now they're saying take those letters and sub them into this formula, okay? It looks kind of crazy, but the way we're going to make you happy about this little monster is by singing you a lovely song. I would let you vote. Would you rather hear the Barney version of the song, or would you rather hear the upbeat Pop Goes the Weasel? Oh, Pop Goes the Weasel. All right, ready? Here we go. Mentally prepare yourselves for my song. A 1, a 2, 1, 2, 3. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, I'm going to sing it along. Sing it again. You sing it along with me. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You didn't sing along with me, and I have a problem. I don't like singing alone. So don't worry, guys. Notice how much quadratic formula is on this next page. So why don't we hop to it? What's nice here, guys, is this is literally a step-by-step for how you would do the quadratic formula. It looks really overwhelming, but it's color-coded, so your eyes can kind of visually follow. So when we looked at this original question, which we solved using complete the square, which we said was not fun, we could solve it using factoring, and we could also solve this guy using the quadratic formula. Notice how we identified the values of a, b, and c. C is negative because we have -4, all right? So you list out your values. you write out the quadratic formula, and you sing the song while you're writing it. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then you create yourself a small skeleton. And so all a little skeleton means is everywhere you see a letter, you're putting parentheses, because then you're going to be filling in all of these little values, which is what happened on the next line. 3 went in for the first, right, the negative b. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so that was really fun. We subbed in our values into this little skeleton template, and everyone is having so much fun that they now want to know what they're going to do on step 5 and 6. So right now we're going to simplify the 3 pieces, and what the 3 pieces of the quadratic formula are: that negative b part, the stuff underneath the radical, which is called the radicand, and that denominator of that fraction. Negative 3 is easy, that's just negative 3, and 2 times 1 is 2. So the part that's kind of annoying is this little guy, the guy underneath the radical. That's also called the discriminant in this case. But here you go, I will type him in. So again, I need to use parentheses. So 3 on the outside of those parentheses squared, minus 4 parentheses 1 parentheses negative 4, and so that gave me 25, right? So that's where that came from. The nice thing about the square root of 25 is it's an integer. It is 5, all right? So now I'm left with negative 3 plus or minus 5, and then this is very similar to what we did in lesson 6.8, where we kind of came through and we said do the plus section of the equation and the minus, and then we'll get our same answers, all right? So factoring would have been much more fun, but there are times, like in these two guys, where factoring is not possible, okay? And the reason I know factoring is not possible is because it says round to the nearest tenth, or write your answer in simplest radical form. This means that I cannot factor it, but I still need to solve it algebraically. And this is when you reach in your back pocket and you pull out your handy dandy quadratic formula. So let's set her up. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You're welcome. So then we have to identify our a, b, and c of this quadratic equation. Now, mind you, we want to set him equal to 0 because it said find the roots, which are the same thing as finding zeros or x-intercepts, and that is where the function equals 0. All right, so a is 1, b is 5, just kidding, it's negative 5, and c is for cats, and that is 3. So what you now get to do is come in and sub all those bad boys into this equation. So pause the video and do that yourself. Go. All right, guys, so what you'll notice is I went in, I put my parentheses, and I kind of in pink is my skeleton template. What I filled in black and highlighted were all of the guys from the quadratic formula. It looks overwhelming, but I swear it's not that bad. Now, hold on, what step number is it? Step 5 says for us to simplify the 3 pieces, so I will work through that with you right now. So x equals negative 5 means that's just positive 5, plus or minus the square root. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, if you look here on the left-hand side, notice I typed in negative 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 3, because that's what it says. And then I put parentheses, negative 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 3. So one gave me a solution of negative 37, and the other one gave me 13, okay? So the way you type this guy in on the calculator matters. The correct one is the second one, because I put the parentheses around that negative 5. The issue is if you tell the calculator to square a negative number, it follows order of operations. It squares it first, then makes it negative. What you want the calculator to do, and it doesn't understand, and that's why you are smarter than your calculator, and sometimes I am too if it functions correctly, hello, is I want him to square negative 5, okay? And so you've got to tell it what's up. So negative 5 squared is a positive number, so please make sure that you pay attention to that. So the correct answer to this guy was the 13. One little trick that I might suggest is, since you know you're using the quadratic formula, I would just throw b squared maybe on the side. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25, so that you know That's what's got to go in, creep in over here, that negative 5 squared. Or just use parentheses every time. So because it says to round, we can actually, guys, type this guy straight in on our calculator. 5 plus the square root of 13 all over 2. And it's going to give us one decimal answer. And then I can come up, press my up arrow, grab him. And then instead of doing that plus, I also wanted him to do the negative. Oop. And so, here we have our two answers. So x is equal to, now I'm going to do approximately equal to because I'm rounding, and I've got 4.30278. It's a rational, so I'll do dot, dot, dot. And then 0.697224 dot, 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 dot. Now, because the directions set told me to round to the nearest tenth, all right, I've got 4.3, because one decimal place is the nearest tenth, and then 0.7 are my two answers, all right? And you can, guys, skip straight from here down to here. You'll just have to type it in on the calculator twice. All right, we're on this last guy, and we want us to write our answer in simplest radical form. What I'd like for you to do is pause the video, use the quadratic formula to set it up, and then I will lead you to the very end. All right, math kids, hopefully you filled in your quadratic formula. Notice how I've listed my A, my B, and my C here. We're taking this guy and we're setting him equal to 0 to find the zeros. Make sure you listed your signs correctly. I set up my skeleton template and I subbed my values in. So x equals negative B, so negative negative 2 is positive 2, plus or minus. The denominator is easy because it's 2 times 1, which is 2. All right. Be careful here. I would either type this in on my calculator exactly as I see it with the parentheses and all, otherwise you're going to get it wrong because that B value is negative, all right? Or to me, I just did it in my head. I knew negative 2 squared was 4. A number squared, a negative squared is always positive, plus 16 over there, so rad 16. Or, oops, not 16, 20. So it's said to leave our answer in simplest radical form. This is fun. That means we need to go prowling. We need to prowl for a perfect square that goes into 20. And the biggest one is 4, and it's rad 4 times 5. The square root of 4 is 2. 5 is not a perfect square, so he stays in jail all over 2. So remember, this guy is equivalent to this guy. Last but not least, and you actually are welcome to leave it like this, it is a correct answer, but I can also do 2 divided by 2, which is 1, plus or minus. Now I also need to divide this guy by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, but I still have that rad 5. So these are my two options for answers. Both of them are equivalent and both of them are correct. This concludes video 6.9, the quadratic function. Hope you had fun. Sing the song to all your friends.